Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles who taught me this truth. This is Counselor Dawad, the real brother beloved, and this is only for the elect.
Only for the elect.
Global warming, a gradual increase in the overall temperature of the Earth's atmosphere generally attributed to the greenhouse effect caused by increased levels of carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, and other pollutants. Climate change, a change in global or regional climate patterns, in particular a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards and attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide, produced by the use of fossil fuels.
I'm no scientist, so my only way to objectively question any data interpreted as factual surrounding the claim of climate change and global warming's authenticity is the scriptures. My only litmus test is the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and it should be yours too. Given Esau's track record, I tend to agree with those who describe it as an environmental scam and nothing more than junk science. I'm old enough to remember the Global Warming Initiative first rolled out by Al Gore, a consolation prize in my opinion for being jilted out of the presidency, losing to the second coming of George Bush. For me, the hypocrisy lies in the taxing of the theorized carbon footprint to reduce CO2 emissions. E-Double has already gone on record to state the emittance of CO2 by forestry is essential to the circulation of oxygen in sustaining humanity and is a necessity in maintaining the balance of nature and the environment. But Pinky and the No-Brain still cuts the trees down at an alarming rate when hemp is a more viable resource and would rather have you smoke it, lock you up, just to legalize and sell it himself instead of maintaining the natural balance and order of things. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20.
O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust.
Meaning to defend the good news, which is the gospel, pursuant to 1 Timothy 1 and 11, in its teaching that Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, and those scattered across the four corners of the earth, can look forward to being redeemed, as long as they remain faithful in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, by keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, and living a life of righteousness to the best of their ability, rehearsing the righteous acts, and not buying into the spirit of Americanism, its principles, and its New Age philosophy.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings.
In this case, it means lend no credence to those who claim to possess concrete evidence, disguised as scientific data, proving human activity contributed to the Earth's warming, and reports that suggest if we don't do something soon, the world's existence as we know it is racing towards an unsalvageable end. There is no evidence to support such a claim, and the scriptures clearly state otherwise.
One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever.
And oppositions of science falsely so called.
Any so-called religious authoritative that preaches otherwise, especially those in collusion with the eggheads employed by the federal government, understand that their ideas regarding climate change and global warming are merely speculative, idle, empty, and useless, and only presented to support an ensuing government agenda. Not only is E-Double evil, he's a goddamn fool.
11,000 experts propose final solution to global warming, just kill billions of people. Over 40 years ago, scientists from 50 nations pivoted on a long-standing global cooling thesis that was going to blanket the Earth in ice, and instead adopted what was then called the CO2 climate problem, which would lead to theories on global warming, rising tides, and economic catastrophe. Now, 4 decades later, a larger group of scientists is sounding another, much more urgent alarm. Over 11,000 experts from around the world have banded together to call for solutions to the climate emergency, including population control, which must be stabilized and, ideally, gradually reduced within a framework that ensures social integrity.
As far as the world being blanketed by ice, again, the scriptures say the opposite. Not the whole world, though, just the area that needs the most attention.
Revelation 18, 21 through 23. And the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone.
This symbolism is indicative of a thermonuclear missile.
And cast it into the sea.
In the Bible, the sea is often used figuratively to represent a city or nation of people.
Saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all.
It has long been prophesied New Babylon, which is America, will be destroyed by thermonuclear violence. all industries of commerce, be it music or trade, will cease to exist, and the very land itself shall lay desolate. It was the taking on the example of Mystery Babylon's spiritual wickedness that coerced all the other nations of the earth to practice evil.
But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men.
This same sentiment is reiterated in verses 10 through 12. As fire is the great purifier, the earth must be cleansed. America, under the rule of Esau Edom, who must be recompensed for all his treachery, must be removed for its wickedness.
So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood, it defileth the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
Hence the saying, sangre por sangre. This is the Most High's blockbuster, and so the idea in itself reads poetic. The demise of the villain and reign of his evil empire, all in the very same place where he conducted his tyranny. A subscriber to my channel sent me these fun facts detailing their skepticism in the validity of data supporting climate change and global warming.
1. The government always lies. 2. None of the climate catastrophes predicted over the last 50 years have happened, but there is a chronic catastrophe waiting to happen. 3. The Earth is actually cooling, so they changed the name from global warming to climate change. 4. There are no signs in the marketplace of anything detrimental to the Earth's stability occurring. For example, insurance companies still insure waterfront property. 5. The IPCC, the UN-established Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was caught red-handed falsifying collected data and test results. 6. Well-respected climate scientists, like Judith Curry, have called bullshit. 7. No intelligent person concludes that man's use of fossil fuels has any effect on the environment beyond natural variation. In 2019, the population agenda is being ramped into high gear, and the public is being carefully conditioned over time to accept the idea that man-made climate change is real and population is the source of the problem.
So exactly how many people would the elite like to exterminate? According to media tycoon and founder of cable news network, Ted Turner, an adequate amount for the kill would be 5 billion.
I was wondering if you think it's a good idea to reduce 90% of the population, because we are being overpopulated by a lot of... 90%. 80? Prince Philip said 80, sir. I go with 85.
I think 2 billion is about right.
Right, me too. Thank you.
One-child family.
Exactly. One-child policy.
The truth is, these elitists don't believe in the threat of climate change. It's a farce they concocted. Their first reason for wanting to reduce the world population is to quell the number of those who may pose a threat to a one-world dictatorship system, and second, to dominate the remainder of humanity by enslaving then microchipping them, making them totally dependent on those that will rule over them. And then there's the third reason. It's what they do because it's in their nature. What does the scripture say about population control?
Genesis 1:22. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth.
And again in verse 28. In fact, Psalm 127:3 tells us that children are a heritage from the Most High, and the fruit of the womb is a reward from Him. The problem has never been the number of people on earth, but rather Esau's greed, destruction of nature to overconsume, and the plundering of the earth's resources. Esau knows that water is a staple of life, yet he allows industrial corporations to pollute it with little penalty and repercussion. For those of you who are not familiar with Canada and its dependence on America for its military protection, they have an agreement with the Unified States that demands they supply the U.S. with a determined amount of water, and even if Canada runs out of their own supply, they are still responsible for holding up their part of the bargain. The point I'm trying to make is the Earth has lots of room, and the world's population does not need to be controlled. Yet.